Follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Here we go. It is the P.M.P. and it is after another Celtic win in a league title that I think is looking more and more ominous for the opposition FC, if you will. But tonight, or this afternoon, was the end of a reign of hoodoos for Livingston. We have put that firmly to bed. I know we ended it last season, but today for me was just confirmation that Ange doesn't do these sort of, we really struggle at this place, and it's always difficult there. We put them to the sword today. We were never out of third gear. We were never in any doubt about the 3 points from the first minute. It was a real a performance of authority, I would call it, from Celtic today. It was a shame it wasn't 4. We know who missed the penalty, and he gets a lot of love in the bus. But disappointed he didn't start. We'll talk about all those things as well. But I think the main thread I've got for today is that performance gives me real confidence. This side has the bit between their teeth, at least domestically, that we're going to win that league. That's how I feel today. That was a league sort of title winning performance. It wasn't one where you can look at the examples of Tynecastle and go, we look back at that and go, it was 2-4, we came back from behind. Well, today we went to this notoriously difficult away ground, just dispatched of the opposition with complete and utter ease, and played with real confidence. Today I am joined by the judge, Mark Kearney. He is back with us. And of course, I'm joined by the face of P.M.P. I think he's in the same attic as me. Terry, what's happening, mate? How are you?
I'm not in the same attic as you, boys. I'm down in Dublin for the weekend, and I'm in my sister's house, and there's 7 boys under the age of 12 running about the place. So I'm up in the attic just to try and get a slight bit of peace and quiet. I was around the pub there for the match, so I had a few Guinness, and I'm now in the roof space just to get a bit of peace.
Well, there we go. Terry, all the way to Dublin. But do you know what I've noticed he's packed in his suitcase? That wee headset market. That is dedication to the bus. Hey, not bad for a shower of wankers. Not bad for a shower of wankers, mate.
No, not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all, man. Good performance today on that fucking asbestos-ridden pitch. You know what I mean? Just glad to get away with it with 3 points in the injuries.
Well, we are going to talk about the game now because obviously, as we're live, we're getting the benefit of the manager reaction in front of us. Sometimes when you go live straight after, you don't get that sort of what would the manager make of the game? I'm going to talk about what Ange's reaction is first and foremost. And Terry, as always, on P.M.P. I'll come to you first because you are the man who commits every single week to coming on straight after the match. I appreciate it. I just thought we were strong. He talks about the Champions League, though, in his post-match quotes, which I find very interesting. He feels that our form from the start of the year has been very strong. We've been improving every week. With the Champions League in there, though, we're challenged in other ways, and the results aren't always as forthcoming. I just think our performances, though, have hit a consistent note, and we need that to continue. I think he's hit the nail on the head there. He doesn't feel the form's changing in any way, shape, or form. And I think he's right. I don't think in the Champions League we've particularly played a completely different way from what we have domestically. It's just you're up against far bigger obstacles, far tougher opposition. But yet, when faced with, and I'll go back to it, a ground that obviously with the asbestos-ridden pitch that Mark refers to as brilliantly as he tends to do. I think when you look at, though, the nature of that ground, it is difficult, Jerry, to get results there for Celtic. Today, though, I think that we've moved on from that now under Ange, and now it's a happy hunting ground for us. We'll go there again this season. We'll win again then this season if they're lucky enough to make the top six.
It was extremely comfortable today, Boise, and it was the last time we were there as well. And as you say, I think that puts to bed this hoodoo ground or Celtic struggle on plastic and all this kind of thing.
Agree.
And see, to be honest, this is a different team now, and I see it when I go to watch my young fellas. My young fellas are playing football, and 1 week they're playing on grass, then they're playing on plastic. They train on plastic every day. And I think as society moves on, these plastic pitches are going to become a lot more common. I'm pretty sure the Celtic training grounds got plastic pitches, and these players will be a lot more comfortable on that surface. Yes, there's not very many league teams play their home matches on that surface, but the guys will be familiar with that surface on training and things like that. And I think the days are gone where we can now say, oh, the surface has made a difference. We've gone there today. We've won without conceding an opportunity. We won the last day without conceding an opportunity. I don't see that as being an issue anymore. We come across it in Europe more and more as well when you're playing away, and some of these teams are playing this kind of surface. I don't like it. I think there's certain players look quite awkward on it still, particularly one who we thought might start today but didn't and came on at the end, and I thought struggled a little bit. He looked awkward to me on the surface, and the commentators mentioned it as well. His touch got away from him a couple of times, but I don't know. I think a lot of the players will be used to playing on this kind of thing now in training during the week and stuff. I could be wrong on that. I don't know what Celtic train on. I don't know if they train totally on grass, but I know over here that a lot of the I know it's a completely different level, but a lot of the Irish League teams are playing on that kind of surface during the week in training, and quite a lot of the teams in the league play on that kind of surface. I think it's the norm, but maybe you guys know a bit more about what's at Livingston. Is it all grass? Is there plastic pitches that the guys train on from time to time if the weather's bad?
It's an indoor plastic pitch, a big plastic pitch. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the guys now are a lot more comfortable on that surface because they will train on it from time to time.
Sure. Mark, we did make it look comfortable with a full stop, regardless of the difficulties of the type of surface, what Livingston bring to the table, albeit I thought Newbley up top again looked a real handful. I like the look of him.
He's a beast, isn't he? He's a beast.
He's not Celtic class, in my opinion, as of yet. He may well go on to prove himself wrong, but I could see him being at Hearts by the end of January. That'd be my prediction. He'll be at Hearts or maybe Hibs, but more than likely Hearts. I think they want another forward. And I think there's no disrespect to Livy, by the way. How he's scouted that without any. I think they've got much of a network. I think this is very much a David Martindale signing. Better not say his name too loudly, Mark. But but I think that Newbley, for whatever problems he was going to cause us, Cameron Carter-Vickers was the one guy in a real contest today. And whilst, as always, he dealt with that as amicably as you could expect, he did very well. The rest of the team, I think, across the pitch, we were comfortable with him, Mark.
I think Celtic just stepped up the day, boys. It was almost like, I think Jock Stein says, some days you just get your working gear on, some days you wear your suits. And I think that was just a case of
that's brilliant.
Put your workman's gear on and just getting on with it. I think Celtic for the very first kick of the ball, it just looked like one of the days I thought Celtic were just going to ease to victory. I mean, I agree with you both. I think it's put that kind of hoodoo behind us. I also feel like Ange's put the Easter Road hoodoo behind us as well. I think he's killed that hoodoo for us. But a sure performance. I thought O'Reilly's performance today kind of typified it. You didn't see much of him, but he just done what he had to do well. And I thought the full team did that. Greg Taylor aside, I don't think anybody was a standout, but and I forgot Joe Hart was there. There was one point Joe Hart caught the ball in the second half, and I thought, oh, we've got a goal today. Just an assured performance. My heart was in my mouth a wee bit with Carter Vickers because when you get a yellow card up against somebody who that was a battle, regardless of the goals, the scoreline. I thought that was a battle from start to finish, and it only takes him to tug somebody to tug that big boy, and it's a second yellow, it's a red card, and we need him. That defence just looks a lot more sturdy with him in that back four, and that was on my mind. Even regardless, even when it went to 3-0, I just always thought, don't give that referee an opportunity to give a second yellow. But he didn't. He performed well, even with one hand behind his back by a yellow card. I thought he just kind of played the game out lovely. And the big guy, I think, as you said, he suits a team like Hearts. And 3 points, 3-0, and I'll take that for this weekend anyway.
There's a lot to be.
I think it's worth talking about Taylor just for a second.
Let's do it. I'm ready to do it, mate.
We kind of gloss over there. I'm starting to see Taylor a wee bit like James Forrest, where a lot of people think he's not quite up to doing the job, but every time we bring in somebody else to take his place, he goes up another level. That's what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I think we've seen Greg Taylor be someone who came in with almost the impossible task. Now, for example, there's certain situations, positions in football, whether it be on the field or off the field, where you come in and it is a poison chalice because of the success of the previous, custodian of that position. And Kieran Tierney's role at Celtic went way beyond just what he did in the park, right? He was one of us. He was someone that we just, the buy-in on Tierney and the loving for Tierney still goes on now. It still goes on. You almost want Arsenal to win. Do you know what I mean? You almost check their results and go, oh, good, I'm glad Arsenal won. Even though it's a former Rangers man in charge, just because you can get Tierney, you love him that much. The void he left was the impossible job. Then, to replace him with a £2 million SPFL player who, and this is no disrespect, at that point in time is not in his... he's not playing the same sport as Kieran Tierney at that point. The point where Tierney left for 25 million, at the time when we signed Greg Taylor for 2, they are night and day in terms of ability. And unfairly, by all of us, you still get judged by the departed player and how good they were, as opposed to just giving him a fair crack of the whip for what, in front of you, was a £2 million Kilmarnock player. Do you know what I mean? So, with that in mind, Taylor's took a wee bit longer to adapt. What he's done now, though, Mark, I'll come to you on this, right? I said it in the group chat earlier. There's a few invisible forces in football that the statos will never, ever, ever be able to control. One of them is momentum, right? Another one is pressure. But the one with Taylor for me is confidence. I just think he is oozing confidence right now. Every time the ball's near him, his first touch is out. It's just guaranteed. He's playing with such an air of confidence that everything he's touching is turning into gold. It's 2 goals in 2 weeks. And today's strike was hit by a man that is just feeling that he's got his mojo, mate. He's got his mojo, and it's brilliant to see, by the way, as well.
I don't think he takes that shot unless he's got the confidence that he's had the last 2 weeks. Because Greg Taylor, that's a one criticism. We spoke pre-season about Greg Taylor, and I said I was comfortable with the guy, Boise, if you remember right. But what I did say about him was, and we've mentioned it since, like, he kind of ducks out his shooting a lot, and that could be a confidence thing. That could be him confident that he's got a position in the team where he just gets to certain areas of the park and just lays it a plate for somebody else. But see, the last couple of weeks he has been shooting. I think that goal at Tynecastle has gave him a wee sense of freedom when it comes to shooting. And with 2 shots a day.
Would you describe that, though, Mark? See that feeling he got at Tynecastle? That must be like someone. It must be like someone like on, I don't know, on a Friday night, maybe, I don't know, taking drugs or something, It must be like that. It must be a euphoric feeling.
I've
It
not
just
got a clue what
takes
that
you
feels
to
like,
another
mate.
level. I know. I can think of a few people, right? But I mean, I don't want to name them, mate, because I tell it as it is, and I don't name names. But what I will say is that Greg Taylor, that feeling, it must be an addictive one. This is what the reason I'm coming in, because I think that Tynecastle feeling, I want that again. And I think that's why at Livingston he was so, not, what's the opposite of shot shy? Shot
I was
gallus.
gung ho.
Not like that.
It was gung ho. No, listen, I think a goal does lift your spirits, but also I think he feels like the fans have took to him eventually. It took him a long time to be accepted by the fan base. I've mentioned it before. I think some people remember the fact he was at Rangers as a youth player. A lot of folk, I think, holiday at the top of him that he played for Kilmarnock. He just when you sign for Celtic for another SPFL team, it's got a wee cloud on it. I think Celtic fans don't really take to you as much as if you came from Serie A or Serie B or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? But he's took him 3 seasons, I think, to get to the place that I think he belongs in. I think the Celtic fans now trust him. He's trusted now. If we're playing at Ibrox, he's one of the first names you look at.
Yeah, I agree.
Park and Bernabe, I'll not labour his point. I think Terry touched on it. I mean, ball and goalie, he's been at the 4 million that guy, but he's come in as well, Bernabe. Circa £10 million of players we've brought in, and nobody's got close to him yet. And it speaks volumes about the guy. I mean, he managed to convince Neil Lennon and Ange Postecoglou that he's the best choice left back. And to be honest with you, see last season, one of the best goals in the league last year was the one we scored. I think it was O'Reilly. We had about 50 odd touches of the ball. That started off with a beautiful bit of play for Greg Taylor. Very classy.
Good knowledge.
I clocked it straight away because I thought that's going to get missed. And that when that goal gets spoken about, that's going to get missed. What he did in there, and I like the guy for a very long time. And long may that continue. I like Celtic having a nucleus of Scottish players, and he typifies what I want to see. Him and we all know that Ralston's my favourite player, but him and Ralston having that Scottish presence, they just give you something different. They give you something there. I know the staunch Rangers Britishness about it. I'm not talking about that.
Celtic
They just give you, they're just bleeding for the club, and I think that mixed with a good level of ability, I'll buy it in that all day long.
Lads, Mark Wilson had a wee slip of the tongue today, but it kind of was very appropriate. He said, Greg Taylor has had to adapt to the introverted fullback role instead of inverted.
Right.
He said it introverted. But if you think about Taylor in that role, he probably has been introverted, but now he's just becoming extroverted and he's starting to express himself.
Some folks you just think what to say, especially when it's online or on TV. Think about how to say it.
I picked up on it. I think Taylor.
Oxymorons, indeed. I mean, I'll keep that in house, but we'll probably share that one on social media. But I think, I think with Greg Taylor, it's a complete success story. And again, it comes down to we've spoke about some fantastic managers at Celtic, none more so than. I'll sound the fucking klaxon. I'll sound that klaxon. You're right. So, I mean, that is what he did it many a time. He made players better. And I think none more so was that copied again till you got to Brendan Rodgers. Yeah, I thought unconceivably made players such better. I remember we played in the Champions League qualifier, I think it was the year before, under Ronnie Dyler, and it still comes up in my Facebook memories. I mean, if we think we'll be playing in Europe next year with Callum McGregor and Stuart Armstrong in our midfield, you can forget it. And I put hashtag rabbit in headlights. I mean, one's in the EPL flying, the other one's our club captain. But at that time, you were thinking, I just don't know. And Brendan Rodgers took them. Scott Brown. You think you can't teach an old dog new tricks? James Forrest was one of them. James Forrest, Mark, you're spot on. And I think this is a brilliant key skill to have if you're going to be a successful Celtic boss. Because it can't just be, as much as we advocate Celtic spending more, it can't just be a free-for-all where every position we're going to spend and spend and you need to also go to even get the job in the first place. Convince the board there's players there I can make better. I don't think none of them have been. There's a better example of so far than what Greg Taylor has. There's a lot of shouts from him talking about Player of the Year and stuff. I mean, it's the 30th of October. I think it's just, I don't understand that logic, to be honest. I just think it's nonsense. But has he been so far one of our best players? Yeah, absolutely he has. Does Ange take a lot of credit for that? I think he takes a heck of a lot of credit, but the most credit I give to is the player himself. Because I think, as Mark touches on, he's been an unfancied member of the squad. Maybe by the fans, maybe he's felt when he joins, we also sign a guy who's been called up by Belgium at this point for £3 million. You know, balling goalie, you know, and he's cost more money. And maybe I've been signed as the number 2. That'd be your sort of mindset then, you know, not because you want to think like that, but you would feel like that, right? Because, right, he's not just signed me, he's signed another one who comes a wee bit of a, you know, if you've been called up by Belgium in the SPFL, that sounds like a sexier reputation, you know? Then you get our first ever signing from Argentina, joining for double the money Greg Taylor cost us. And again, if you look at it on paper, you think, well, that must be the guy coming to be our number 1 left back. He's overcame all these obstacles, all these hurdles. He's the bona fide number 1 left back at the football club. Credit to Greg Taylor and credit to Ange as well for the way he's coached him, the way he's put his confidence in. But we will move on because it's not just all about Greg Taylor as much as I think, you know, I love the success story he's had as well. We were worried, Terry, about Kyogo's finishing. Did he look like he was the same player when he you know, he's that tame shot midweek? When you think about it, that was an opportunity, you know, against Shakhtar to, you know, to get our first 3 points. And remember that shot potentially worth €2.4 million, which people forget. But, you know, then you look at the authority of the finish today. Wow. Absolutely outstanding. Hopefully that's a shot in the arm for him for the rest of the season.
Hopefully so, boys. So, yeah, I think probably a few people were surprised to see him get the nod today. I wasn't overly, given that Giakoumakis did seem to pick up a knock, although Giakoumakis always seems to pick up a knock. But no, you're right. Kyogo's finish, it was good to see him get that one. What I will say is, see on that kind of surface, it seems to be easier to get a really powerful strike, and it seems to be able to get a lot of movement on the ball. And that shot from him today did move all over the place. And there was a couple from Taylor. There was one before the one that he did score where the ball moved all over the place in the air. And I think just on that artificial surface, it seems to be easy to get so much movement on the ball. But from a Celtic perspective, for Kyogo to get back on the score sheet again with an emphatic finish, yeah, it's excellent. And yeah, you know what? He didn't contribute an awful lot to the match from an attacking perspective after that. But I think to have him back amongst the goals again, excellent.
Yes, it's what we need. It's what we need. At the end of the day, Mark, we'll talk about the Kyogo goal because that's the positive here, right? Before we talk about the selection, because I think it's important to, when we win 3-0, as we say, a non-happy hunting ground, you could say, for Celtic over the years. And now it's the last 2 times we visited who've scored 3 goals. And today it was Kyogo who got the nod. And what a finish that was, Mark. That's what I think fairly, we've came to expect from him. And it's what we expected him to do midweek, wasn't it?
Aye, it was quite a difficult pass for Ralston. He tends to pick the difficult passes when Celtic are moving forward. It's a beautiful pass. O'Reilly played the ball through as well. Beautiful, well-weighted pass for O'Reilly. That pitch might have helped us, ironically. And then Kyogo just... Aye. Then Kyogo just whacks that in the top bag. It reminded me almost very similar to Gary Hooper's goal against the Old Rangers in the 3-0 match. He just kind of this side of the boot right in the top bag. It was a beautiful goal for Kyogo, and he's been missing that confidence the last couple of games. Well, the last maybe month and a half. It's certainly
I think that's more like it, Mark.
I
agree.
And if only we had that Kyogo in Europe, but that's another story. But no, I feel like the day, I agree, it was kind of in the match. It was 1 point the second half. We come back and won the ball down at the corner flag, did really well, got a free kick, and that just shows you his work rate. But it was quite invisible today. But I think a lot of players were. It was merely, as I say, it was a kind of industrial performance by the team, but it was very professional. And I think if Livingston had scored at any point, I think we would have stepped it up and just matched them in their ability and their work ethic and certainly their ability. And I felt that Kyogo could have come off at half time and they would have done the same performance as what it did for the 90 minutes to go at nearly. No, I think the day Livingston seems to be a place that Angie's made players go and get a second wind. I think Forrest was with the picture last season and went in there and got a nice tidy goal and started to maybe cast a wee bit of doubt into some Celtic fans where his career was finished. And I think the day Kyogo reminded everybody why, including myself, why Ange thinks he's a quality player. We all know he's quality. I still believe that Giakoumakis suited that game more than Kyogo, but Kyogo scored an absolute belter for the corner of the box. So what do I know? But I just felt like today was probably a Giakoumakis game, but Ange deserves credit for picking him. But that's why he's on a million quid a year and I'm sitting here in my jammy shorts.
Well, this is it.
On 2 million.
Good debate.
Oh, £2 million, yes.
There's good debate coming in the group chat, and not the group chat, the live chat. Patrick McLaughlin, are you allowed to like Kyogo and Giakoumakis equally? Of course you are. This is the thing. Absolutely agree with that, Patrick. Right now, though, if you back one or you think one's in form and deserves a start, that means you're slagging the other. That's just how.
Why do folk take it so personally? Why do you take it so personally?
Mark, people see everything as binary. Every answer you need to give in life is a binary answer, a yes or a no. Kyogo or Giakoumakis, you can't appreciate both, but have a preference to the other, whilst also praising the one that you think's maybe just a bit behind him in the pecking order. That means you hate him. That means you're slagging him. That's just the way.
I get up. Yeah, I mean, I a message months ago was somebody scored for Celtic. I can't remember who it was. Might have been guys in my head. I'm talking about maybe last season. And I got a message saying "Get up," and I'm like, I spent thousands of pounds to sit in my plastic chair in the freezing cold, pishy rain, and be disappointed when Celtic score. See, anybody that knows me knows I'll be jumping at my seat more than any cunt in Celtic score. You know what I mean? But
so strange.
In this guy's mind, well, I think it's a guy because he's one of the kind of strange avatars on Twitter behind us, a pseudonym. But anyway, "Get up" here was the message I got, and there probably folk the day that was thinking that Kyogo scoring a goal kind of justified their ridicule, and anybody saying that Giakoumakis maybe deserved more game time. Like what?
Yeah, I mean the comments. I'm going to go through a couple of them because I think there's good debate here. By the way, to be fair, good. Monty's at the wind up by the way the whole show, which is brilliant. And me and Monty get on well. I've spoke to Monty on the phone and stuff in the past. He's sound right, so I know he's on the noise up. But there is some good points coming in as well, including Monty's, of course. Kaiser, for example, you can't knock the selection. I don't think we're knocking the selection, but my truth would be, based on the form Giakoumakis has shown when given starts of late, had that been Kyogo, he would have started today. I think that would be how I would view it. But Giakoumakis having more impact from the bench. Well, this is the thing, because Polymorphos then says, I don't think Giakoumakis can score the goal Kyogo does. He even messes up a similar chance at the end. Now, I really want to touch on that, though, because this is where it gets into the unfair sense. Not because Polymorphos, for any reason, is trying to be unfair. You're watching similar opportunities. One's missing one, one's scoring one. But I think when you look how sporadic the starts are Giakoumakis actually gets, if this was to be a guy always in full flow, full rhythm, regular starter, does he make such a fluff of it? And then I'm going to add to it as well what someone else said, because they were spot on. They said he was like last season. He's trying almost a bit too hard again now, Giakoumakis. And then it's Kieran. And he says, he's trying too hard instead of just being Zeus. But do you not get why he's trying too hard, Terry? He's trying too hard because he's feeling he's needing to go above and beyond what the main competitor for his jersey is having to do to establish himself as the first choice. And I think Giakoumakis, he beats himself up a hell of a lot. You can see that on the park. But I think you're maybe beginning to see, which I always thought was going to end up being a problem, is when you force the manager's hand to be a regular starter, you can't do more than what Giakoumakis has. We talked about his starts to goals ratio is just a joke. Do you know what I mean? An absolute shambles. Have we ever had a player that can be dropped so easily, or rested so easily, or left out tactically so easily? No, we've no. Right? We've not. Terry, I think we did see today, Giakoumakis, he's desperate to take the penalty because he's doing everything he can to try and impress a manager he feels is a wee bit tougher to impress than what his rival for his jersey does. By the way, again, this isn't a criticism of Kyogo before anyone wets the bed in the fucking chat. You know what I mean? It's good debate.
I thought it was going to be one of those bookend stories, Boise, where Giakoumakis' Celtic story started with the penalty miss against Livingston last year. Then he's gone on a journey where he's come in, replaced Kyogo, scored a lot of important goals. And then today, that penalty was just going to be the closure of that book, that whole year of where he came in. The Celtic fans weren't convinced around him, and then he goes to hit the post with it. But you could see the frustration straight away as soon as he came on. Couple of, I won't say clumsy touches. I don't think he took to the pitch, and to be honest, that might be one of the reasons why he didn't start the game, along with the fact he did appear to take a reasonably heavy knock during the week as well. It'll be interesting to see how the lineup goes on Wednesday night, which for the fans is pretty much a dead rubber, but again, for the club where you're sitting there with potentially 3 million for a victory in the Champions League, you know, it's still an important fixture. It'll be interesting to see if we go with Giakoumakis or if we go with Kyogo, or if now we go with both, which we know is an option.
One day, Terry, it'll be a regular thing, I'd swear.
The thing about it is, they're both very good players. You know, it's not as if Kyogo's shit, and you think Giakoumakis has probably done enough to play, but you play Kyogo instead. It's not as if you're playing a shit player in front of someone who you think's really good. They're both excellent players. It's just really a case of who you think is bang on form at this moment, as opposed to maybe just a slight bit off the boil.
Terry, that we talk about VAR. We don't want decisions to go in Celtic's favour. We want fairness. And I think anyway, based on form, the ratio of starts that Giakoumakis has had while being in form compared to the ratio of starts Kyogo gets if he's the one in form, I don't think is the same. Honest opinion, that is. That's just me. And that's only my take on it, by the way. People disagree. That's fine. That's absolutely okay. But I think Giakoumakis, you always look at the person as well. Look at their reactions when they're playing. Look how often he's beating himself up. He's constantly talking to himself. He's looking in the sky, and I think he's so overeager to impress. And I do think, Marcus, because he feels he needs to go almost above and beyond to get that regular run that, you know, all Kyogo had to do was put in a half-decent display for central midfield, and he'll be back starting up front again this weekend. Doesn't matter what Giakoumakis did the week before that, or the week before that.
It's almost like Giakoumakis is maybe like the step win out of a big family, you know what I mean? And he's just trying to eager to impress, you know what I mean? And he's probably never going to fit in. I don't know. I think I don't know what's happening there. Terry's just
that's all right. That's all right.
It's quite funny.
Terry's went above and beyond because he's in Dublin, as he says. So
he's welcome to that.
We appreciate him coming on. We do.
I agree. You know what I mean? And I think Giakoumakis, it's almost really difficult to come off the bench and almost just start running to where you are, you know, where the game's already sitting, you know what I mean? And I think to score goals as much as he does for the bench is it's a credit to him, you know what I mean? And he seems to be involved in the match almost instantly, which is hard to do. Some players take 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to kind of get in the swing of the match, but he just goes in and just goes on it, you know what I mean? And he almost scored 2 goals today. I know one was a penalty, but he's only apart for 9 minutes. And I agree. I think Giakoumakis should start against Real Madrid. That's definitely his game. I mean, somebody hold the ball up and maybe lay it off to an Abada or a Forrest if they're going to start. I'm looking forward to seeing Giakoumakis getting a good run of games for Celtic. I think if you give that guy 10 games for Celtic, I think he's scoring 15. 16 goals. I really do. He's that clinical, and in a season where you're kicking your luck and looking at the skies when you're seeing Kyogo missing chances in Europe and Abada missing chances in Europe, with a Giakoumakis who's almost scores one every 2 touches, would he have gave us a bit more points in the Champions League? I do think he would have. And I think it's really disappointing for the club. We haven't managed to get that £3 million for what, £2.5 million for getting a victory. I mean, I think we deserved a victory. It's quite ironic that how bad Rangers have been. They might end up with more points in the Champions League, but that's another story.
I doubt it though. Genuinely, I doubt that.
I think our mob might get a win. Obviously, but
that's you setting yourself up for the worst. I get what you do, Mark.
No.
I've got to know you well now, pal. Right? I know you. They might win, and then if they don't win, you're buzzing. Right? It's clever what you do, mate. It's clever.
Well, yesterday we're talking to. I knew yesterday. I didn't know. But yesterday, I put a wee bet on. I won a couple of quid. I knew the Huns were going to. The Rangers were going to get a penalty. That was written in the stars. It was written in the VARs, right? I was always going to happen, right? See below it.
Written in the VARs. That's brilliant.
I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to use that one on Twitter, I think. But see, if they lost that match without a penalty, I would have happily lost my 20 quid. I wouldn't give a fuck, you know what I mean? But
Mark, do you see those odds though? Mark, do you see those odds? Those odds that you got, yes, you got your bet in, and that's brilliant, and I knew it was going to happen. But those odds that you got on that bet of 2-1 for Rangers to take a penalty, that means
they know what's going to happen. It was 94 to Tavernier to score. I mean, give the bookies slant. You're talking about a Rangers penalty every game and a half. That's what they're predicting. They know
every game and a half. How ridiculous is that?
Well, the odds compilers must know that it's maybe. I mean, Tavernier. I mean, with fullback in modern football is 94 to score at a time. That's 2.25 to 1. That's fuck all. You know what I mean? It's printing money. I think for the bookies, I end up taking it off the market eventually.
My bookie doesn't give bets on penalties in Rangers games.
No wonder, because he's no fucking stupid.
Honestly.
No, don't. I put it in the chat during the week. There's lots of them have stopped. They're not doing it anymore because they smell a rat. They smell a rat, obviously.
I wouldn't trust an Irish bookie, but he's right there. You know what I mean? Definitely no. No, absolutely not. I mean, if anybody thinks that VAR isn't, I've said it before. If anybody thinks VAR isn't set up in Scotland to favour one team, then they're totally wrong. I mean, Rangers are going to get penalties. If there's another 25 games left this season, they'll get a penalty in at least 17 of them. I'm convinced of that.
I thought VAR was good today in the Celtic match because it wasn't used. That's its best. It's best use when it's not there.
I thought it was a nice, guys. I thought it was a really good, refreshing move away from VAR being the dominant thing. I thought the penalty. I'll be honest. I think it's shite that it's so innocuous. But the rule, the letter to the law. I said to you in the group chat, mate. It's soft. It's a bit shite. But that is a penalty.
It was no more a penalty than last week's.
We don't get that now.
I think it's closer to his body. So I would say, see the silhouette of the body. I would say he's probably his hands within that. But he's raised it up like that, so it's like it is a penalty. There's no two ways.
You can tell by the player's reaction. The player himself, he knew, but the player last week knew as well.
But the guy, see that's now. We don't get that. See that's now. Even with VAR, I don't think we get that.
I think that's based on last week. I mean, I think it's hard to argue with Mark saying that. We won't take a wee look at the league table right now because it's 12 games now played. Right, we are nearly a third of the way through the league campaign. We're 4 points clear. We are 13 goals clear. Obviously, we've got a few fixtures before this bizarre break for a World Cup that, who even cares about the politics? That's not my fucking business. But it's just ridiculous, the whole thing. Next up, we are at home at Dundee United. I'm going. It's my birthday weekend. I don't know if any of you fancy a beer after. If you're in the chat and you fancy a beer after, let us know. We're booking a table in a couple of pubs in Glasgow after, so it'd be good to.
Well, that could be ominous.
Aye, Mark.
Right in the chat.
Well,
we're a week apart, boys. We're a week apart. I'm off for the week after.
I know, mate. I know, which is a bit shit. I'm gutted at that.
Listen, I might give John a shout or something if he's about that day.
Jonathan would love to.
Aye.
Jonathan, fuck off.
Give
He's
him a
got
shout.
posters of Terry on his fucking wall, man. Honestly, it's embarrassing.
That's some grass done.
Honestly. But it's Dundee United at home, Motherwell away, Ross County at home, Aberdeen away. I think. No. Am I fucking wrong? No. Up to Ross County. So 3 more games. Dundee United at home, Motherwell away, Ross County at home.
Is that the 3 before the World Cup?
Aye. And they've got, just quickly looking here, they've got St Johnstone away, they've got Hearts at home, and they've got St Mirren away. And then it breaks up for a month. I mean, I do believe that, you know, over the next 3 games, I'm convinced, looking at those fixtures from our point of view, we get 9 points. Are they out the woods yet because they put in a good display at home to Aberdeen yesterday? I don't know. I think the fact 2 of their 3 games away will be a real test for them, albeit they're not the strongest opposition in the league. But St Mirren's having a good season this season so far. They're sitting comfortably in 5th. You know, there's still a chance here between the next 3 games. We go into this early winter break or World Cup break, whatever you want to call it, in a pretty healthy position.
My fear for the World Cup was us getting players injured or dropping points before it. I agree with you. That's 9 points if you look at it on paper. And what I've noticed, and it's not me just chatting to Mark, I've noticed is you never expect when we drop points. You never expect it. It's always a game you get and you're going 6-0. To be honest with you, we should never drop points on paper except to Ibrox. But so you're never really expecting it, really. But no, I agree. I think the Motherwell away game is always a wee tricky one. I think that's midweek and on. But St Johnstone away for Rangers is always a tricky one. St Mirren away and the home game against Hearts.
St Mirren could be the real trick. I think I agree with Danielle on this. Danielle's trying to be, you know, quite contrarian today, so we'll give the benefit of the doubt on this one because I agree with you on this one, Danielle.
I agree with Danielle.
Hearts will lie down at Ibrox.
That'll be 5 or 6 now. I mean, it's always interesting when you see Hearts get beat after Celtic. It doesn't matter what the score is, whether it's a 5-0 victory or a 1-0 victory. It's interesting how the manager always comes out swinging at the referee and swinging at their players and losing cheap goals, but he's always complimentary when Rangers play them. I
think Robbie Nielsen, I used to think he was
ex-Rangers, wasn't he? He's a youth player. He's a Rangers,
was he? I always thought, like, when he first started, he was a young, like, one of these progressive coaches. I hated him as a player, by the way. Stephen Presley's like wee mini-me. He was just Stephen Presley's wee mini-me. Oh, you growing your hair, Stephen? Oh, I will too. Oh, you wearing a headband because you've got a blood, you know.
He's got a funny face. It looks like
one too.
Didn't he? I think it was Popeye with a wig. He's got a funny kind of all squashed together like a half-chewed chewing gum. I don't know what it is with him, mate. He's just a fucking knobhead. He's never good to say.
Terry, do we go into the World Cup break with the same 4-point gap, or could it be extended based on the fixtures we've just discussed there?
Boy, I'm normally not so clinical, but I said last week, if it goes to 6, it's done. If we're 6 ahead going into the World Cup, it's done. That's just my confidence. I'm a wee bit like Jack Amakis was last year. I think if it goes to 6, I don't see. I mean, I was concerned when McGregor got injured because I just seen him as such a vital cog. I'm a lot more relaxed about that now. But if we're 6 ahead going into the World Cup break with McGregor coming back after the World Cup, it's gonna take something ridiculous to stop us going on to win it.
I've got an interesting theory. I'll be very, very content if it's still 4 points, right? And I'll tell you the reason for that. Hopefully that means, by the way, it's still 3 Celtic wins, of course, right? But if they get their 3 wins, I think they've got a month window of opportunity to make a drastic change at management level where, rightly or wrongly, unfairly or fairly, they don't rate this guy, right? But I've got too many Rangers pals to mention, right? Like, he is 100% there. His head's on the chopping block, right? As far as the fans are concerned. I think he's still only 1, maybe 2 dodgy results away. But if he doesn't get them, they might just sit tight and save themselves that compensation money that would be due to get rid. Whereas if they are, their hand is forced and they do need to make a decision, Mark, with a month to do so, that works in any football club's hands because it gives you that opportunity to really, check out the market, who's available, who's not, have real in-depth conversations without the sheer panic of, we've got this big game looming at the weekend. None of that exists for 4 or 5 weeks. It's a great window. I think a lot of EPL clubs are doing it right now. I think they're taking stock. I think they're going, was going to make a change, but we might just wait till we get to there and have that 4-week cushion. However, if they're to pick up their 3 wins and we pick up ours, we still remain 4 points clear. But I think they'll carry on with someone who I think, this is a guy already, right, who took them to a European final, and within 4 months they want him out. So his position's fucked as far as I'm concerned either way, as far as the fans are concerned. Because you've never heard anything like it in your life. He got into European final and into the Champions League through the chaotic playoff route, which we know firsthand how difficult that is. He's still within touching distance of the league, and yet they want him out, right? Personally, I think domestically Ange's got his number. And I think they're acutely aware of that bit. I think if you look at his targets as a Rangers manager, he must be ticking all his KPIs. You know what I mean? Apart from the winning the league last year, which they probably have went, well, fair dues. He got us out the muck. He still got us the 40 million quid. This year, he's well within touching distance of it. I just happen to think Ange's got his number, and they just know that. But if he goes in within touching distance, 4 points behind us, Mark, they'll keep him. And I think that will play into our hands. Whether he's a good manager, whether he's not a good manager, is not the debate. When the majority of fans don't want you there, it can turn toxic after one result. I would love it just to go, get past the World Cup. They're still 4 points behind us. That means they keep Gio. And then their next couple of results after that month are disasters. That place goes into absolute free fall. And we go January to May and we scoosh it. That's what I could see happening. You know where I'm coming from and all that?
I actually said the same thing. I think if he gets to the World Cup, they'll keep him for a while. Because I think we've got a difficult December. I know. I think if I would rather they win their 3 matches, or at least get 3 positive results, and then go to November, because that would give them a full month to look at the landscape, see who's out there. And also, I think there's going to be a chain reaction in November. I think a couple of managers are going to be sacked during the window. So these clubs, so that just starts snowballing. People end up out of work, and that could have played into Rangers' hands as well. I did see that Rangers will be due to pay about £3 million for Van Bronckhorst and his back team.
Where's Dave King when you need him? He paid that just to get out of Ange's homecoming tour.
He's on his eye on the ball, and by the ball I mean about 14 balls at one time, looking at his eyes. But no, I think one thing about Rangers is they need a certain type of person to be in the dugout, and I think Van Bronckhorst is a good manager. I don't think you get to a European final, won the Scottish Cup, managed to look fitter than Celtic in extra time, after playing extra time when a week before. He did all that. He's only, see last week there when he got booed out the park, see that Saturday afternoon, there was one point they could have went top of the league. That's how close it is. So I think his card's marked. He's out no matter what. I think it only takes a bad result in a derby match in New Year's, or another defeat, and he's out the door. I think his card's marked. It would take an extraordinary turnaround. That it would take for him to qualify for Europa League or something again, and beat Ajax. It would take something dramatic for him to get a second chance in the eyes of Rangers fans. He didn't fit that mould, boys. But it suits us as Celtic fans, because I think he's a good manager, but it suits us as Celtic fans that they hate him so much, because that just puts a cloud on the club.
Wait till you know this.
Like, it transcends onto the park. See, when the crowds are unhappy after half an hour, that transcends onto the pitch. And I think we all know the stories about how the main stand can go be right on top of that Rangers manager. And I think they feel it, and see a pressurised atmosphere at Ibrox that is good for Celtic, you know what I mean? And I think if we get to November, have that month with the World Cup, I think they'll keep him till at least January, which is good for Celtic, because I think Ange has his, unlike Kenny Miller, I think Ange has Van Bronckhorst's number. So I agree with you. I've said that point myself. I think that'd be a good idea.
You've got Kenny's number, Mark.
You've got Kenny's number, mate.
I phoned that game last night and they never answered. I'll phone you back. They never phoned me back.
I bet they never phoned you back, mate. For any who don't know, if you ever, obviously when we do the post-match credits and it's Chris Sutton talking about Derek Johnson on the Clyde One hotline, calling him a charlatan. If you listen to the full segment, Derek Johnson's voice starts to shake a little. Now, that's the only way I could describe Kenny Miller's voice to Mark Kearney last week on Clyde One, because his voice, that's not really my argument, though. That's not the point. I'm like, oh, he is rattled. No wonder the host tried to take you down one garden path to another garden path, Mark, before getting to the crux of it, which was VAR. And what a job you did, mate. I was really proud of you, mate, but anyway, it was class. I just listened to just smiling, going, it's just great to hear someone tell the truth. It's just, I mean, how sad is that in the life? Phil McKinley comes in, the judge had him on strings. It's so true. It's so true. Celtic, I believe, have the league on strings, guys. I know, Terry, you're in Dublin, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. Before we go, I don't know how many of you watch all the Celtic pods out there. I know, hey, there's a lot of good ones out there, a lot of good quality content. A lot of people a bit noisy. We're a bit noisy ourselves. I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. I've got to take a bit of a laugh at for those of you who watch it, or those of you who contribute on it. I don't know if you've watched this one or not, but there was a host on Friday who I thought was in celebrationary mode. Turns out decides to call us wankers and stuff, and he basically I don't know, he said he didn't think our standards are very good, thought we were all wankers, and I'd just like to say to those who watched it and those who contributed on it, he did tell you he has to come on the bus only 9 days ago, right? Good night.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.